to perhaps a different view.
You've got me in there as well. I'm impressed.
Yes. I don't know how your name got into that.
No, but you didn't get the spelling right, but at least you got me in there.
Okay. What this is actually, it's taking it from when you installed the product.
Yep.
We actually typed in the name, and obviously you've installed this one here on this machine.
So some additional information down there.
Okay, we'll put it back to the date and time for now.
Now, something that's happening in Windows 95 a lot is the right mouse button. Do we have access here?
Yes, we do. And the right mouse button actually allows us to go into something called the Lotus info box, and this is quite new. If I click with my right mouse button when my cursor is in text, you can see I get a menu. I can choose, well, what are we going to want to change? I'm either going to do something with text or maybe the page layout. If I choose text here, then we get a text properties box.
Okay.
So properties for text and all the different things that you could possibly have in your text.
So all the things relevant to where you were when you clicked.
Yes, that's right. So I'm changing text. Well, what can you possibly do to change text? We can change fonts. We can change, perhaps put things like underlining and bold. We can change the alignment, the colours.
You've got these little tabs again.
So again, we can see that we have tabs to show us the different categories that we can choose from. The first one has fonts. The second one changes and shows you alignment, indents, spacing. The next one is colours and lines.
Okay, so there's a lot of options in there.
After that, there's indents, bullets, miscellaneous, lots of other different things that you could do as well.
You couldn't think of another name for that one.
Okay, advanced, and this is to do with paragraph breaking, page breaking, and that sort of thing. And then the styles, back to the name styles as well.
And will the right mouse button give you different options depending on where you click?
Yes, again, this is part of the new Lotus context-sensitive interface. So if I was perhaps doing a frame, putting a picture in a frame, and I had a frame selected, then it would give me properties for a frame.
Okay.
What I'm going to do here now, to close that away, I can just use the familiar little close button there.
Good. So we've seen a lot of options there.
Yes, we have.
I guess we'll come back and revisit a lot of those things throughout the video. I guess the right mouse button will save people a lot of time as well.
Yes, it's very useful. It's a quick way of getting to where you want to be quickly.
Good. Well, we're coming to an exciting topic now because you're going to take us on a very fast test drive.
Yes,
showing us just some of the new areas in the software and what you can do with it. Yeah,
what we're going to have a look at here is really a quick way of getting a document started, creating a document.
Okay, well, fasten your seatbelts and we'll see you in the next topic. Now, here's something of a revelation because I'm going to shut up in this chapter whilst you take us very quickly through Word Pro, showing us exactly what you can do.
Right. I'm going to do all the talking now. What we're going to do really is just having a look at creating a document quickly.
And we'll come back and the things you show we'll cover in more depth later.
Yes, we will.
So don't panic if you see something that's a little quick for you. Okay, off you go.
Okay, now we've been in a document here that I opened just to show you the interface, so we're going to close that down. We need to just go over to the right of the screen here, and we're just going to use the close button to do that. Okay, do you want to save any changes? I'll just say no in this instance. Right, now what I'm going to do is open another file that we've already put some text into. So I'm using the smart icon to open a file, and it brings me into a dialog box here to say, well, which file do you want to open? Here you can see the folder that we're looking in and some other files that we've already created. What we're going to do is we're going to open a file here called TD for test drive. And it's got some basic text in it already. So imagine that all we've done is we've said, open a basic document, a blank document's got nothing in it, and we've started typing some text. What we would like to do now is really make this text look nice. So we need to just go into a different view. Let's just zoom to the full page. The view we've got here just shows me the full page view. Sorry, I just need to get to a better one, I think. Let's try the page width view. Okay, I think that's a little bit better.
Right.
Now, what we can see here is a main heading. It should be a main heading, but it's using basic text. So what I'm going to do is just highlight it.
Okay, just dragging over the text.
Yes, I'm just using my mouse to highlight the text, and then we want to do something with the text. So we're going to use the Smart Status bar at the bottom. If we simply wanted to make it bold, we can click on the B at the bottom here, and you can see that the text is now gone bold.
Yep.
Maybe we'd add underlining as well, and then it looks like more of a heading. If I just come back to the top of the screen, you can see maybe I'm not really keen on that after all. So what we can do is highlight it again and change it, or we could always use undo. And this undo button allows you to go back, and there are unlimited levels of undo now in Word Pro. I do simply still set mine to 5 levels of undo because you can get carried away otherwise.
So you can specify how many levels you have?
You can specify, and we'll show you where to do that later. So I'll just undo those last 2 things and take it back to the way it was.
Excellent.
Another way of actually changing your text, which is much quicker and easier, is using the paragraph styles which are already there for you. So that's what we'll do now. Again, I've highlighted it again, down to the bottom of the screen, and you can see in this bar here, which is where the paragraph styles are. They will format the text for you automatically. So at the moment we've got body single highlighted. We could have default text. This is going to be a heading. Let's try the title style and see what that looks like.
Right, and that's
so
centered.
the title style is using centered and bold. It could be maybe I think it's slightly a bigger font as well. Okay, what else can we do? Let's just use the right of the screen, and we're just going to scroll down slightly, and if we can just go to the left again so that you can see a bit further down there, contents, what's new. Perhaps this should be a subheading, so highlight it just using the styles, and again this time I'm going to choose a subhead style. Okay, and you'll see now it's changed. We've got a list. So what is new? Properties dialog. I'm going to highlight the whole list. And instead of having a plain list like that, we really could do with spacing it out, something to make the points stand out. Usually people use things like bullets. So again, the paragraph styles do it all for you. They contain the properties that you need.
Are these styles default ones?
These styles are actually saved within the style sheet that we chose when we first set up this document. But they can be changed, and they can be saved with the document.
Okay.
So if I wanted to change them, what I might do is click on the right mouse button. I'm changing the text. And again, you get this menu, and we want to change the text properties. If we could just zoom into this window here, maybe I want to change the font, or perhaps I want to just make the text a little bit bigger. Let's go a little bit further along here. The properties box, we're going to go to the section, the 4th section along, where we've got bullet styles. And lots of different bullet styles, and this is quite nice because you can even choose your own bullets. And you can choose little things like a little pencil, which is quite nice, or a pair of scissors.
Fun for all the family
something
here.
Maybe even a logo you could put in, so something relevant to what you're trying to talk about there. So let's just simply choose that, and we're going to close that properties box because that's all we want to do. Oh, sorry, I forgot. I didn't highlight the text. So that's a good point. If you're going to do something with text, it's a good idea to highlight it first.
Just to prove that you're human, Karen, isn't it?
Okay, I'll highlight it again. Right mouse button, text properties. Okay, where were we? We'll go straight to the bullet section. Choose the pencil bullet. And that's it. Okay.
And there they are.
And you can now see that it's changed. I've just touched the escape key just to take the highlighting off there, or you could click anywhere in the text.
Right.
Okay, so that's looking good now, that list. What else can we do a little bit further down? Again, let's just finish off editing the rest of the text. This one here, we'll choose, again, it should be perhaps a subheading. All the rest of the text can be normal text, so we'll highlight. And you'll see now what we've got is that we're at the bottom of this page, and I'll show you what happens when we come to the bottom of the page in a moment. I'm just going to change this to default text. Okay, now, if we look at the view at the bottom of the page, as I start to scroll down, you can see we've got 2 pages. And that's something that's new as well. So it's a quite nice way of being able to see more than one page at once.
And you're scrolling down with the down arrow?
Yeah, I'm scrolling down with the down arrow. I'll just go to the beginning of the line there. So now you can see the bottom of the previous page as you type or as you move through the document.
Will people watching have that same olive colour as their background?
You can actually choose the way the document is viewed, and you can choose to have things like your margins of your document in colour as well. So that's up to you. And again, we're going to just choose a heading here, and we'll put the subheading style on that text there. Or maybe we could try another style, maybe some shadow text.
What about a different font?
Or we could choose, yes, of course, we could choose different fonts. Another way of doing that, let's do a different font with
I like the one you just put there with the lines on it.
That's quite nice. That was just a style that's already set up called shadow text. If we want to do a different font, perhaps just on this section, Word Pro here, let's use the Smart Status bar at the bottom again. So this time we're clicking on the first part of the menu, and we can try something different.
Spot for choice, really, aren't you?
What shall we have? We've got Arial already. Let's try this brush script.
Okay.
And you can see that that's...
we need to make that a bit bigger for people, Karen, I think.
Yes, I think we'll do that. So again, using the Smart Status bar again, let's just choose a larger size. Okay, maybe even larger than that. Okay, so just editing and changing things as we go along.
Can we have different colours as well?
Yes, of course we can. So if we choose that, it's the next button along. So we can choose, you know, red or whatever, blue, whatever colours or shades that you like.
And if I have a colour printer, I'll get that output?
If you have a colour printer, you will, yes. Otherwise, you'll get a shade of grey or perhaps black, depending on the printer and the printer driver.
Excellent. So you can really make some very creative-looking documents.
Yeah, and we can have a look at some of the other editing features in a little bit more detail later on. I'm just going to... Let's go back to the beginning of the document.
What did you press there?
On the keyboard, I did Control and the Home key, which is a quick way of getting back to the beginning of the document. And obviously, you can to move around the document, you can just use your up and down arrow keys, as I'm doing here. I'm just using the down arrow key, which is probably fairly straightforward for most people. But if I want to go all the way to the end of the document, if I keep my finger on the Control key, Control and End will take me to the end, which is obviously on a page at the end, which is page 8. You can see in the corner there. And let's go back to the beginning again. Control and Home, back to the beginning.
Back to the top.
So there are quicker ways of moving around the document as well. So what I'm going to do now that I'm back at the beginning of the document, I'd like to just change the view quickly. We'll talk about views in more detail later. So I've gone to a smaller view there where we can really just see like a bird's eye view of the way the whole page looks. And we're going to put in a picture, maybe a logo, something like that. So I'm creating a frame. Oops, sorry.
Put it in the wrong spot?
Yeah, I didn't mean to do that. What I actually did accidentally was put it in the header area. I got a bit close to the top of the screen. It's probably one good idea why you might like to have your margins in colour, and maybe we'll change that later on. Let's try that again. I'll just click on the frame icon. Now you can see my mouse looks like a frame. And all I'm doing now is clicking on the mouse and dragging and actually sizing a frame in there. And it looks like a picture frame. There are different types of frames you can have, and we'll come back to that later. And again, frames can have the properties that we looked at before, like text. But all we're going to do for now is put a picture into the frame. What I'd like you to notice now, if you look at the top of the screen, Lotus's new context-sensitive interface, because you'll see some of the smart icons have changed. Previously, when we're on text, let's go back to text. I put my cursor in the heading. They're things to do with text. So you don't need to worry about changing your own palette of smart icons. You get the tools to do the job when you need them. Back on the frame, and we've got things that you want to do with frames. Maybe you're putting text in the frame. Maybe you're importing a picture. So there's a little smart icon that looks like a camera. So if we click on that, we can choose different types of pictures to bring in. And so we'll see what this one is. And it's a graphic.
You just double-clicked on it?
Something to do with Word Pro. It's an actual Word Pro graphic that we've created there. What I might like to do is size the frame just to fit it onto the page. Notice how the text is also wrapping around the frame. Or I might want to just move the frame itself. So you can highlight it, and you've got a little hand which allows you to move the frame. somewhere else.
A little hard to see the picture, Karen. Can we make it bigger for people?
Yes, you can actually size the picture. What we've got here is the picture that's in this frame has been sized according to the frame of the actual size of the frame itself. So I've got a setting which means that this type of frame will size the graphic. So what we really need to do is just size the frame to make the graphic bigger.
And of course the document's very small at the moment in the zoom view, so we don't see so much.
It depends what type of graphic it is. It could be a drawing. Word Pro has its own drawing feature, which we're going to look at later on.
Yep.
What we can also do is maybe resize what's inside the frame. And to work on the contents of a frame, I'm going to double-click inside the frame, and I get a little hand saying, well, this time I'm moving the actual graphic inside the frame.
Right, and you double-click to go into this mode.
I double-clicked inside the frame. I'll just show you that again. If I put my cursor on text, I've not selected the frame at all. Click on the frame, select the frame, move the frame itself by dragging, or click outside of it. If you double-click inside, select the frame, and then double-click inside it, you can then move what's inside the frame. Excellent. Now, if that was text, I would have a cursor and I would be able to edit the text in the frame. Because it's a graphic, I can edit the graphic.
Could we bring the document back to its normal size to see what this looks like?
Yes, we can. We need to just go back to the top of the screen and we need to choose a view. Either just go back to the larger view that we had before, the margin view. You can see I've got a little bit of text wrapping around the side of the frame there, so we just might need to make it a little bit wider.
Just stretch
But there are different types of frames. You don't have to have text wrapping around it.
Great, and there's your document.
There's the document.
Well,
just some basic editing, but very, very simple using the paragraph styles.
Okay, so obviously Word Pro is really good for creating standard letters and the word processing basics, but if you wanted to sort of take it to that level, you could produce some very fancy, well, it's desktop publishing things, really.
Yes, there's lots of desktop publishing type features. Really, desktop publishing is where some of these features have come from. Things like being able to import graphics into word processing, doing fancy things like putting nice frames around boxes, lines around the document. A lot of that can be done with the style sheet itself to start with.
Great, yes, and styles certainly would save people a lot of time by the look of things.
Yes, they do.
Good, well, thank you for that. We'll move on now, and we're going to have a look at something called Survival Kit. Well, now it's time to hand out the survival kits. What to do if something goes wrong in Word Pro?
Yes, what we're going to have a look now is ways of getting help.
Okay, good. Well, let's have a look at that. And I notice you've got the standard help menu up there.
Yes, we have, but obviously a lot of people using previous packages on your PC, if you remember, the traditional way of getting help was using the F1 key, and we've kept that the same in Word Pro. So I'm going to touch the F1 key now and see what happens.
So you can press F1. And there it is.
Okay, now what we've got here is the first time we've gone into help. There's lots of different options that you can have here. You can see that there are little buttons you can take. You can say, how do I do something? Getting started, what's new? There's also a guided tour that you can take. But you could also perhaps just use this video to help you with that as well.
I would hope people are doing that, Karen.
Okay, help on help, how to use help, and you can click to get these different help options here.
But just before we go on, you've got the standard Windows buttons there on this help system.
Yes, again, what we're looking at, let me just move this dialog box up a little bit so you can see it better. Again, it's a standard dialog box, and you'll notice it's like a little program in itself.
Yep.
So it even tells you how to get customer support. But these little buttons here allow you to, as we said before, close it away or minimise it, make the screen larger or smaller, and close it. I'm going to just close this particular dialog box for now, because let's have a look at what the help menu itself has. If we look under the help menu, you can go a few different options here. Help topics. Let's have a look at that one first.
Okay, so you've got lots of these colourful icons again. Okay,
so that's a menu way of getting to this. Let's just try one of these. Where's my mouse gone? Okay.
You've got the old jittery mouse syndrome as well.
Okay, here, let's try this one, the Word Pro Workspace. So they're like little buttons themselves. If we click on that, it brings up another window, which we might want to just make larger. So let's use the button to maximise that on the screen. and using the Word Pro window. So it's telling us about the screen, which we did in our first section.
Right.
Notice at the top as well, we've also got contents and search, again 2 buttons. So perhaps you've gone into something and it's not telling you all the help on the specific topic that you wanted. We can click on the search button.
Aha, there it is.
And now we've got a dialog box showing us help topics that we can choose from. And you can scroll through this list of topics until you find what you want. But perhaps a quicker way of doing something, if I type in THES, and you see as I'm typing my letters in this, the first few letters of the word I'm looking for, it says then click the index entry you want. It's moved down to thesaurus, so maybe I want some help on the thesaurus.
And what did you do? You just double-click there?
Yes, I just double-clicked on the actual thesaurus in the list, or I could have just pressed carriage return to say yes, bring up the next help topic. And we now have information about the thesaurus. Okay, what we'll do now, if we close that, just close that little window, let's go back to the help menu. Another way of getting help is something called Ask the Expert.
Ask the expert. Oh, you are the expert though, aren't you?
Right, well, here, what we have here is a way of finding out how to do something, and you can ask in your own words, how do I do something? If you look over here on the left of the screen, it tells you, ask the expert a how do I question. So I'm typing in how do I spell check. People have their own ways of saying, well, what's a spell check? Or
check spelling,
that type of thing. It will look for some of the words you've got in that sentence there. Okay, and all I need to say is okay now.
And it's going away and thinking about it.
And what it's found on the right-hand side, you see, it's also found these answers. And we've got a little scroll list box here that we can have a look at all the different... sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Let me just put that little one away again.
Okay.
What we're looking at is this list here, setting spell check options, selecting a highlight colour. Again, I can just highlight it or double-click on it to bring up that topic.
Oh, I see. So you can jump straight to that topic in the help system.
Yes, that's what I'm choosing now. So now you can see another help window has come up, this time giving me the options that I want.
Right.
So what I'm choosing is setting spell check options. Again, once you get into this window, you've got more buttons. So if you want to move further into that topic, see more details about this, print the topic. So
that's
if you've
useful.
got, print it out and go away and read it separately, perhaps.
And you've got the contents and the search button again if you need it.
Yeah, so you can really move around these different ways of getting help quite simply.
Okay.
Okay, I'll close that. And that's all there is to help.
What about just quickly, just how would you come out of here once you've finished with your expert?
Okay, if I just say done, you can see there's a little button here. It's a bit like saying OK. Sometimes there's an OK button, but we've just said I've finished with that now and put it away.
Now, although we don't need it because we have you, but is there some sort of tutorial function?
There is also a tutorial. I'll just show you... we won't go into it, but I'll show you where it is. You can either take the tour from here, or if you remember the window that had the colourful buttons at the beginning of the help, there was an option to go into the tour there. And that just gives you a quick tour around things like what's new and getting started with a product, that sort of thing.
Okay, so there's plenty of options there for people that need to find more information. And I guess it's a case of finding one that suits you.
Yes, you know, like using the F1 key to get into the help to start with, using the menu. I found the menu actually the easiest way of doing it.
Good. Okay, and in the next section we're going to start to customise ME Pro. Oh, I said it. Sorry, Word Pro. The old habits die hard, don't they? Well, we had it for so many years, you see, so that's my excuse.
Yes, I know.
We're going to have a look at customising Word Pro.
Yes, we're going to have a look at some of the actual setup options. How do you want the product to work for you? So user setup, customisation, that sort of thing.
Fine. Well, let's move on now and have a look at that topic.
Okay.
Now, Karen, do you ever tune your own car engine?
No, I wouldn't have a clue how to do that, but I can show you how to tune the engine of ME Pro, Word
See,
Pro.
you're doing it as well.
Yeah.
But this is all about just showing people how they can customise the environment a little bit for themselves.
It is, yes, how you can change your user setup, view preferences, that sort of thing.
Well, let's have a look at that now.
Okay, if we just have a look at the File menu first of all, Halfway down you can see the user setup, and from that you get another sub-menu, different things that you can set up. Okay, so first of all let's have a look at the printer setup. Now, most of the time this will actually be done automatically for you when you install your printer, but there might be some things that you want to change in here. For example, the orientation of the printer to landscape, the page size. For example, we've got letter size paper here, whereas being from the UK, I obviously would want to use A4 size paper, that sort of thing.
I notice you've got a fax program connected and not a printer at all in this situation.
Yes, that's right. So printing out to a fax. Okay, we can have a look at some other options here on the right-hand side of the dialog box. So I'll click on that. And again, paper sizes, so I might change that and choose A4. We're not actually doing any printing at this stage, so you know, we won't be using this. How many copies do you want as standard and that sort of thing?
Sure.
But usually this is something that you do once. You set up your printer once and you wouldn't really need to come in and change it unless you change the type of printer.
And you've got the paper size down there again?
Yeah, paper size and that sort of thing again, and the paper source. So it just says default at the moment, but for example, that might be if you had different bins on your printer. Okay, it really does depend on the printer that you install, the way this dialog box will look and what options there are, because each printer can be different. So let's just choose cancel here, just to go out of that actual option there, and I'll cancel again. And let's go back to the user setup menu from the file menu. Okay, now underneath printer setup we have Word Pro preferences, and these are lots of different settings that you can choose for different areas of the way you work with Word Pro. The first one is under a category called General, and again you can see in this dialog box all you do is click on the tabs to move across to different categories. Let's just go back to the first one, the General one. Here we have when you save a file in Word Pro, we're going to come to that in another section, you will save it, and at that point it will be saved onto your hard disk or your floppy disk, wherever that may be. But we've got an automatic timed save, and that will save a document every however many minutes. We've got 10 minutes set. So if you, for example, start a new file, when you start a new file it's called Untitled to start with, and then 10 minutes goes by and maybe there's a problem, maybe there's a power cut or something like that. And if you have that sort of situation and you haven't actually saved your document, normally you won't be able to, you'll have lost it.
Right, but so the autosave is one way of guaranteeing that at least you're keeping some information.
Yes, you're keeping information. Or if you're doing a lot of changes in a document that you want to keep the changes, and you might make a mistake or something like that, you know you can go back to the last saved version.
Right, okay, good. It's a handy one to know. So
I'll leave that set to automatically save every 10 minutes. You can also automatically back up your documents, and there's a directory. Where would you save those to? Now I might back up my documents to another drive, a floppy drive, something like that, perhaps put them onto a floppy disk.
So you're making additional copies?
Or copy them, yes, making additional copies of them. We haven't got that switched on at the moment. If you want to switch these boxes on, they're just called check boxes, and you just click on them like that.
Okay.
Okay, general usage options here. Disable, so what do you want to disable? So in here is a list box.